Okay, I think we're going to kick off the introduction to CodeFuse webinar now. Hopefully, welcome everybody from join.me and GoToMeeting. I don't think we've got anybody on Skype today. Just to introduce myself, I'm Gordon Marsh. I am the founder of CodeFuse. So we're just going to kick off today. I'll just move the slides on to show basically our quick agenda today. We're just a bit about an introduction really to CodeFuse, covering a little bit about regression testing and the core use case really for CodeFuse. We'll then get into a hands-on demo using CodeFuse, and then just very quickly at the end, we'll just give some information about kind of next steps and getting in touch. So, CodeFuse was conceived really to enable software development teams to be proud of the products that they build. So we help you to create great quality software which has a positive impact on your users. And we do that by offering a regression testing service which its three aims really are to be simple and convenient, provide fast usage, and provide great coverage as well. All of which we'll demonstrate in the demo today. So CodeFuse is really the product of real life experience. I've been a test manager or test director for around about 15 years in my previous roles, and there were a multitude of different problems which made test automation very difficult, or there's a lot of failed projects for different reasons. And often that wasn't down to necessarily the actual technical tool that people were using, but all of the different things around setting up virtual machines, the process that you use for test automation, understanding what you want to automate. And really CodeFuse is the culmination of those years of knowledge and experience and packing it up into a cloud deliverable which is very easy to use. So going back to square one, the regression testing is the core use case for CodeFuse, and there's a lot of software development teams which initially find regression testing very simple, because if you have a fairly straightforward product that's not too large in scope, it's fairly simple to regression test using either specialist manual testers or using perhaps developers or support people to do your testing. However, as your product grows and more features are added, the possible impact on the old features that you make as you make changes require that you go back and test those features. So manual testing becomes more and more of a problem, and particularly when you start to want to test against multiple browsers, multiple configurations, and perhaps different data sets as well. It can become quite an exponential rate that you need to increase your testing, and manual testing becomes quite prohibitive then. So we test because we want to reduce the risk of a poor experience for customers. We want to reduce the risk of customer support having to deal with the issues that fall out of not regression testing. And fundamentally, we want to reduce the risk of reputation damage, which is obviously core to your business. So by auto testing, we can reduce your development time. We can discover more defects by expanding your test coverage, which we'll go into more in the demo. You can save manual effort, and some companies are moving towards a test-driven approach to software development, which we won't go into today, but it's definitely an option if you want to talk to us more about that. CodeFuse also offers managed services, so we can actually, if you subscribe to one of our managed services, you can lower the number of testers that you require in-house and lower that skill set. So you no longer need to have specialist automated testers who know how to code or code in a specific language or using specific tools. So we can lower the number of testers and reduce that skill set, which also simplifies your team organization as well. A core idea, though, of CodeFuse here is to enable you really to focus on your core business and don't go back and reinvent the test automation wheel, which a lot of companies do find themselves in. So effectively, rather than create your own test automation framework, you can just come to our cloud SaaS product, and it's all ready for you to go on day one. So just to summarize options, really, some companies will initially go down the path of having manual testers. You can then go down a path of getting your own specialists in. So this means that you're building more and more software. Tests need to be maintained. Infrastructure needs to be maintained. Your test framework needs to be maintained. So we're giving you a third option, really, around outsourcing the whole automation side of things to our cloud-based service while you keep your domain knowledge in-house. So a quick overview really of the 3 tiers that CodeFuse offers. We do have a self-serve option, so this enables any client to go to our cloud-based product, register either online or separately through ourselves, and that enables you to create your tests and run them yourselves. We also offer a flexible managed tier where we can help you out basically writing tests and maintaining them. That still keeps the domain knowledge entirely on your side. You're basically putting requests through to us to use CodeFuse on your behalf or augment your team, I suppose. And finally, we do offer a service where it's a fully managed service, and basically we will work out what tests you need, when you need to run them, basically manage the whole automation side of things. So there's a lot more management and strategy that we get involved in there. And then whichever path you choose, obviously the test results then need to be assessed. So I'm going to switch over now to the live demo, which I think will probably take about 20 minutes. I'm just going to come out of PowerPoint here. So the demo that we're going to run through today is just going to be testing a website for our friends at 2i Consulting. As you can see, it's a very straightforward website, but we're just going to use this for demo purposes. Really just go automated test, which goes through some of these tabs, goes to the contact page. We'll fill in some of these details. We won't click on the submit button just to avoid them being sent to superfluous emails. So it's worth noticing that you can sign up online to CodeFuse. I've obviously got an account which I'm going to use, so I don't need to register, but you can go to our website at codefuse.io, which will link through to CodeFuse console, and you can subscribe online. So this is CodeFuse console. The first page that we're going to use is the applications page, and this is where you can basically break up your tests under different applications and configurations. Now, I've already put in the configuration. Really is where you can point the tests at. So I've created two application configurations here. One for the UK site and one for a fictitious German site, which the reason for me doing that we'll come on to later. but primarily we're going to be using this UK site, which goes to 2itesting.com. So the first thing we want to do is CodeFuse builds, it relies on test steps, and you can package up test steps into what we call step sets. So if you have something, an obvious example is login, you can create a step set which is reusable amongst different tests, and this is basically a maintenance feature. So you only need to create a login step set once, for instance. So you have steps which go into step sets, and then a test is made up of various step sets. If that doesn't make sense, I'm sure it will do in a moment once we start to build we'll go from building the step sets, and the tests. So the first thing we want to do is create a number of step sets, and we're going to launch CodeFuse Test Assistant. So this test assistant is where you can basically tell CodeFuse what you want your test steps to look like. So in the first instance, I'm going to create a step set name called go to home, for instance. That step set's been created. Now I'm going to add a step, and all I want to do is click on the home button at the top of the screen. So I'm going to use an object.click, and I'm going to go up here, right click on the home button. We're going to call this home tab. Now when I click on spy, that's taken a lot of information out of the right and enabled us to identify on the screen where that home tab is. So I'm going to save that step. So CodeFuse steps to create are made up of an action, an object, and a data item. So we tell it what action we want to perform, which could be clicking or selecting a select box, typing some text in. We need to create objects that we want to interact with, and some actions will require a data item. So clicking on a tab doesn't need any data. If we were typing into a text box, as we will do in a moment, then we do. So what I also want to do here is just check that when I do click on the home button, I see, say, this title here. So I'm going to do that by using a label.validate command, and we're going to call this object home.header. Grab that object information. I'm going to create a new item, and the data item that I've just entered basically copied the same text that we've got here, just to validate that appears on the screen. So I'm going to save that step, and that's the first step set. It's just a very simple click on the home button, check that text appears. So next we'll go along to the services tab and basically do the same thing. We'll create another step set called go to services, create a new step set, add a new step, And again, we're going to add a new step to validate the header on this page. So again, we've got a second step set now, which basically clicks on the header and validates the header text. So we'll now go along to the contact page, and we'll do something slightly more interesting here and enter some details into the contact form. So again, the first thing we want to do is click on the contact header. Now, if we scroll down, what we want to do now is add a new step to type in, so we're going to say textbox.type, and we're going to say, we'll call this object contact name, and create a data item, so I'll just say his name is Fred. And we want to add another textbox.type step. So we'll call this object contact email. And we'll add in another step just to type something into the query box. So there we have, we've created 3 step sets which simply go to the Home tab, the Services tab, and then go to the contact screen and enter some details. So that's all we really need to do with at the moment for the test assistant. And if I refresh the step set screen, you can see here that we've got so we click on the Home tab, we validate the Home header, we go to the Services screen. So again, the tab, validate the header, and we go into the contact screen, click on the tab, and enter some details. At the moment, we've just got a series of step sets, and one of the tools within CodeFuse is the test builder. So I create a test here using our visual test builder, just called 2i test 1, and I can now basically drag and drop the step sets that we created to chain them together into one test. So you begin to see where the reusability of these step sets come from. If you wanted to create a number of tests which started with go to home, you can do. So we reduce the level of maintenance really. So rather than 50 tests, all which use go to home, and when go to home changes, you have to go back and maintain that. You only need to maintain or make an alteration to go to home in one place, and all of those tests would be updated. So there you can see one CodeFuse test, which is a chain going through go to home, go to services, and go to contact. So we'll just save that. Okay, we're now in a position to schedule the test, and I'm going to select the UK configuration, go to our scheduler where you see the one test that we've created there, and I'm going to add to iTest1. I will run this test against just all of the common browsers, so Chrome, Firefox, and Internet Explorer. Those tests have now been scheduled, and you can go to the pending test screen to see basically the tests that have been queued and are awaiting execution. So while we just wait for those tests to execute, moving on to the next part of the demonstration. In the next part of the demonstration, we are going to basically replace the hardwired information which I put into the tests, such as the name Fred, and we're going to read that data from a spreadsheet. So we're beginning to demonstrate here how you can write one test, but actually data drive the test. So you write one test, perhaps you've got a spreadsheet with 100 different data combinations that you want to test, and you can basically tell CodeFuse to run the test against the spreadsheet 100 times. So I've created a spreadsheet here, which, as you can see, very simply has got a name column, an email column, and a comment column with different information. So we'll start to use that in a moment. As you can see, the tests are progressing, and against Internet Explorer, the test has run properly. What we do have is a video which will fire up. So on our virtual machines, we are always capturing a video of the test running. So you can see here that our test has started against Internet Explorer. It's already clicked on the home button, it's doing its validation, it's going through to the services page, it's done its validation, it's now gone through to the contact page, and it's typing in the entries. Let's just wait for that to finish. The test is completed. I'll just refresh this page. Still waiting for the Chrome and Firefox test to run. Sometimes the virtual machines do take a minute or so to fire up. I think while we're waiting for those tests to complete, we'll start on just showing how the we can begin to data drive our tests. So we're going to switch back to this 2i generic level for reasons which we'll come on to in a moment. We're going to go up to test assets, and we are going to upload a spreadsheet to begin with. There we are. And now what we want to do is, effectively, we want to tell CodeFuse that rather than each our data items having a specific value, we want to tell it to read from a spreadsheet. So we're going to change data item to read from the 2i testing data XLSX, and we're going to give it the column name. So just to remind you, we've got the name column, the email column, and the comment column. So we also want to change the email column and we are going to change the query to the comment column in our spreadsheet. So what we can do now is we're going to return to the UK configuration. This time we're going to select use multiple data scenarios, and we're going to run the same test, but CodeFuse is now telling us that it knows that you're linked to a spreadsheet with 3 different rows. So we're going to say we want to run all those rows. We'll just run it time, and we're going to schedule that test. So the other tests have now completed. So you can see that those tests are successfully run against 5 next. But now we scheduled some more tests, and we're only running against Chrome this time, but we have 3 different data scenarios. And once those tests are finished, we'll have a look at those results. What we'll move on to next, actually, is just demonstrating CodeFuse users often, there's different ways of using our configuration functionality, but what we're going to demonstrate is one I think that's fairly easy to understand, which is clients sometimes have different language configurations for effectively the same software, but their testing becomes very different. So in the next stage, what we're going to do is demonstrate how CodeFuse, again, can use the same test, but read in different data. So if I just bring up the slightly different web spreadsheet. You can see that it's got the same name, but I've created a kind of a German version of this of the spreadsheet. So in a moment, we're going to upload that into the German configuration, which we can select by here. Let's see how back to the test that we just started. So these all run against Chrome, but you can begin to see that the test has read in different data this time. So you've got the tests which use show, the test here which used Mary, and the test which used Fred. So we've demonstrated a few different concepts here. One is multiple browser execution, and the other is multiple data execute as well. Now, just to complete this really, what we're going to do now is go across to the German configuration, and we are going to upload a different spreadsheet for the Germany configuration. So we're going to select a file, but this time the German variant. And we've uploaded that to the German configuration. So I'm now going to go across to the Schedule button, select multiple data scenarios again. So we'll run all 3 data scenarios, and just for completeness really, this time we'll run the 3 data scenarios against the 3 different browsers. So actually we've got 9 different tests that are going to be scheduled. And we can go across and see that in the Pending Tests tab. So Chrome has got 3 different data tests, Firefox and Internet Explorer. Now, while we're waiting for those tests to run, I haven't included it in this demo, but I think an important feature of CodeFuse, going back to the test builder, which is quite a popular feature, is the use of decision nodes within CodeFuse. Now, I'm not going to alter this test. I'm not going to save it because obviously we've got tests executing in the background. But what I wanted to make you all aware of was we do have this ability to say, make a decision as to what the flow of step set is. So for this decision node here, I could say, I want to read from a data item, and I want to read the contact name, and if that name is not Fred, I want to do something different. So in an imaginary instance here, let's say that if the name is not Fred, we want to do go to services and go to contact. Now, maybe if the name is Fred for some reason, we don't want to execute those. We don't want the data row that includes Fred to execute go to services and go to contact. So I'm not going to schedule this test, I'm not even going to save it, but this is just to give you an overview of how you can data drive your tests. So based on the spreadsheets or indeed the hardwired data that you've got, you can drive your test this way. So this is covering off for a lot of our clients just different data scenarios really, and minimizing the amount of tests you need to write, but maximizing the amount of reusability you can get out of your tests by data driving them through a spreadsheet. So we're not going to save that test. We're going to navigate away. Our tests here are not finished, but you can begin to see Chrome, Internet Explorer and Firefox. Firefox has completed, and you can see here that it's the German it's the German spreadsheet that the test is now using. So we can basically schedule at the same time. We could schedule for the UK, the German environment, against multiple browsers, against multiple data scenarios. So given that scenario, straight away you can see that just by writing one test, we have potentially covered 18 different data scenarios. And that's been demonstrated here fairly quickly. So I hope that gives a good idea. We'll show one of these videos. So you can see in this instance, the virtual machine is running Firefox, and it's going to quickly run through this test. But you can see this time that the test is making use of the German data set this time. So there's a few things there. There's really three core things we wanted to get across in this demo. One is the simplicity of automating your tests. The other is the speed of creating those tests and actually executing what could be their 18 different tests in very rapid succession. And possibly most importantly is this concept of improved coverage. So the instant repeatability of tests enables you to basically do a full regression test after every release you do of your software, multiple browser support, multiple data support, and the ability to run tests through different configurations as well. So that really draws us to the end of the hands-on demo. As you see, the Chrome and Firefox have now finished. Internet Explorer hasn't quite finished there. But that's really the end of the demonstration for CodeFuse. We've just got one final slide. So if you're interested in CodeFuse, and we definitely think that it can help with your regression testing needs, please go along to www.codefuse.io. There's a lot of information and further videos on the features that we've got. You can also use that if you want to sign up for an instant free account. Beyond that, definitely contact us. You can get hold of Tracy at tracy.hart@codefuse.io or Bianca at bianca.smith@codefuse.io. And finally, we'll put up a recording of this webinar in case you need to show it to other people in your organization. That will be either up today or tomorrow via codefuse.io on our resources page. So that's really it for the CodeFuse webinar today. Thank you very much for everybody who's attended today, and please get in touch with us if you're interested in CodeFuse. Thank you.